to be or not to be, that is. Should I do that one? I don't know if I should do that one. Now all the...
You've done Hamlet though, haven't you?
I've done Hamlet, yeah. I've done Hamlet.
There's not much left.
What's left is Macca's and King Lear, I think. Romeo's past me. I know you both protest.
Too much.
But but I think my Romeo days are gone.
Hello, I'm Chris Bryant, and this is First Draft, the podcast which is all about exploring what's going on in our creative industries here in the UK. And I'm joined today by Adrian Lester, who is perhaps best known to lots of people for his television appearance as Mickey Bricks in Hustle, but of course has many, many stars to his name for performances in the theatre as well. So we'll be talking a little bit about theatre, we'll be talking about access to the arts and what really makes him tick. Welcome to First Draft, the podcast which is here to tease out all the strands in the creative industries and to talk about how we can strengthen them in the UK. And I'm joined by Adrian Lester today, star of stage and screen and other kinds of screen as well. But I want to ask you, first of all, do you know how you became Adrian? Why Adrian?
Why Adrian?
Is it a family name?
It's my name. It's what I was, my christened sort of first name. I started off as Anthony because it's this sort of Jamaican household thing where you can be called a name that is the family name that isn't your legal sort of first name.
Right.
And as a kid, I got called Anthony, which is actually my middle name.
Right.
And didn't know it was Adrian until I was sort of about to leave primary school. And one day I was here helping my mom clear stuff in the house, thinking I'm being, a very helpful son. And I came across these letters with birth certificate, and I saw my name, and I went, "My name's Adrian." And she said, "Mm-hmm," and she just carried on. So I was determined. I went to school and I said, "Miss, my name, Birmingham. Miss, my name is Adrian. It's not Anthony." She went, "Oh, okay. I want to be called Adrian." So everyone out there who is saying, "I wish to be called," I understand.
Wow. And then, of course, you played Anthony in Sweeney Todd.
In Sweeney Todd. So the whole cast was like, "Well, and Anthony will," and I got a little twitch.
Yes.
Kept feeling like my auntie was calling me.
And but that was after you'd been to RADA and so on. But so you sung quite a lot on the stage, haven't you? Because you were in Company as well.
Yeah.
Robert, did you play?
Played Robert in Company. Did Sweeney playing Anthony. Before I went to drama school, I was a sort of supernumerary, a sort of walk-on extra in a production of Sweeney Todd by the Birmingham Youth Theatre that went around to a little tour.
Attend the Tale of Sweeney Todd.
So I sang all, sort of filled in the chorus bits and the harmonies. And then, so I've done that production twice now.
Right. But you've not played Sweeney?
Not played Sweeney.
So maybe there's a Sweeney
Maybe there's a Sweeney yet. And then I played Robert in Company. I did a musical version of Love's Labour's Lost with Ken Branagh, bit of singing and dancing in that. I did a film called Up on the Roof, a musical. So that's all my
singing. But you've not sung on the stage or on telly for quite a while?
Not for a while. I think the last thing I
Has your voice gone, your singing voice?
No, it's still there. It's still there. But I did Guys and Dolls at the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, right.
Which was a four performance weekend. Sky Masterson.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Luck be a lady tonight. That guy. And then I also did, I think when we were in lockdown and it was the VE Day celebrations, I did a song with the military band there, You Can't Take That Away From Me, which is on YouTube. Right. So that's it. That's all my singing.
Cool. But when you went to RADA, but you don't, I mean, I kind of think of RADA, maybe this is wrong, because it's the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
You're doing the voice.
Yes, well, kind of, yeah. There's a bit of, and maybe today, I think it's quite expensive to audition, and I just wonder whether, is there an issue about getting actors from ordinary backgrounds through RADA and into the profession, or into the profession at all?
I think through places like RADA and into the profession, the drama schools do a really good job of bursaries and support, and their fundraising campaigns and so on are all about helping students who can't afford the fees pay for their fees and pay their way through. There's a great network of help there as well. It's a drama school. You're dealing with emotions, so there's all sorts of support systems there for students, and they do a good job. But it's not a rule. It's not law. It's not.
Yeah.
When I went to drama school with the group that I went with, I auditioned for drama school, got in, and then I had to audition for the Birmingham City Council to get the grant to be able to go.
But you got a grant.
But I got a grant, and so there's a grant system in place. I had my fees paid, and I had maintenance paid as well. So I was able to actually go and study. But
you wouldn't get that today.
You wouldn't get that today.
No.
So it's quite a tough position that a lot of the actors are in.
And who was there a person who said to you, you know what, Adrian, also known as Anthony, that you are. There's an actor in you. Is it a showman in you, or is it?
It would have been the Birmingham Youth Theatre.
Right.
That really helped me there.
But how did you find them? How did you know to knock on that door?
I was a part of the children's opera company.
Why are you smiling?
Because I remember I'm remembering the list. Basically, I was at school, singing at school, 8, 9 years old. Doing the school assemblies and so on, singing various characters now and again. And then the St. Chad's Cathedral Choir in Birmingham wanted people to come and sing, to be part of their new set of trebles as part of the cathedral choir. I then sang for them, I got in, I became a treble. Then somebody there said, one of the other kids said, you should come and join the Birmingham, the Children's Music Theatre.
Right.
The opera company, because they do great stuff and you're interested in all that stuff. And so I went and auditioned, I got in, and it was there that I came across the youth theatre members.
Right.
So I was about 13.
Right.
And I came across these youth theatre members and I was fascinated by what they could do.
Right.
And I wanted to audition and join, and I joined at 14, and then that led to drama school.
When I was 14, applied to the National Youth Theatre, and I got in for a summer course at the Haverstock Hill School, I think, in London, and I had a fortnight in London entirely on my own at the age of 14. I can't imagine that any parents would allow that to happen ever again today. But anyway, but likewise, I got a little grant even from my local authority, even to do those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, so, Glenda Jackson, Albert Finney, born on the same day, 2 working class actors, phenomenal film, stage careers, very working class backgrounds. I just wonder whether it is more difficult today. We often, Benedict Cumberbatch said to me, I went to one of the fundraising events for Lambda, like you say, trying to raise money for scholarships and so on.
I went there as well. I was there, and I remember him saying that he didn't do his final year of drama school because he couldn't afford it, which would surprise a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the idea that we allow young people who can't afford to access this training and also to enjoy the art forms that are around means in some way we don't hold it as being important for the younger generation. If I remember being in Russia, I remember being in France, I remember you ask people there about poetry, you ask them about dance, you ask them, and it's part of their culture. It's part of the system. They can quote people.
But it is phenomenally part of ours. I mean, we've probably got the biggest kind of intellectual property in the world.
Yeah, but it's just it's some way our idea of what belongs to us, what's for us and what's for them, comes into play, and we don't feel it's important for everybody to have access to that stuff. Right. It seems to be nowadays. It seems to be that if you can afford it, you can afford the. What is it? It's almost like it's a leisure activity. It's an activity that isn't really serious, but you can play around with it if you like.
Is that what your parents told you?
No, not at all. Not at all. As soon as I joined the youth theatre and I started performing, and they knew I loved it, I started getting reviews, and then immediately I got a provisional equity card. At that time, the rules were different. It was difficult to get an equity card, but I managed to get a provisional one, which allowed me to be a walk-on for Central Television. And Central Television used me a lot. Every summer, they would use me as much as they can because they did not have young people with provisional equity cards, and they did not have anybody look like me with an equity card. So I would do scenes where they would ask me to walk across the set and do something there, then quickly change, walk around the back, and go a different direction. I saw the lack of diversity in what I was doing.
Right.
Everyone who had their cards had gotten them through one way or another, but they were all of a certain age, a certain look, a certain thing. And that's what was represented in screen behind the main
They probably look like this.
A little bit.
Even the gingers get in. I don't know why I've got this picture. I've got this picture of you as a rather angelic treble singing in the cathedral choir. But you've played quite a lot of, well, I don't know, the character in Hustle. Good person, bad person?
The good person who does bad, for good reasons.
Was that what you internalized into the character?
I think that Mickey Bricks is someone who, his background basically is that he had a dad who played by the rules and worked as a delivery driver and was saving his pension. And on the day that he retired, 2 days after he retired, he's there going off to the post office to cash a gyro, and he has a heart attack. And he's left with nothing. And Mickey decides that's not going to be me and walks a different route.
You always want him to get away with it, I think.
Yeah, there is an idea that the system is not there for all of us.
Yeah.
And he represents the people who feel the system is not on their side.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that we are taught, and then the other thing that we see. And what we're taught is, obey the rules, do this, pay your taxes. And then you look around at the richest people in the country.
And you kind of think maybe they're not playing by the rules.
That's not how I'm a mug. It's not how it's working for those people. So you want to see the same rules applied to them. Or in Mickey's case, you just go, okay, I'm going to do what you do. Yeah. I'm going to do what you do.
And you've done a chunk of Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. There's so many great actors who've played all these parts before. Mm-hmm. You can watch many of them. They've done films of them. You played Hamlet. There's I don't know how many dozens of versions of Hamlet that you could watch on screen. Do you watch them before, or do you just go, no, I've got to be my own special creation?
I think it's a bit of both. I think I read books, I did my research, I watched a bit. I liked watching people talk about Hamlet rather than watching their performances. And then with Peter Brook, I got all of Hamlet's soliloquies. I removed the punctuation, wrote them out without punctuation. And I went through and just spoke them to see what the sense was that I could make logically of the words. And sometimes, most of the time, that went against the punctuation. The punctuation exists as an editor's idea of what it should mean and also what they've seen another actor do. And then I realized that the soliloquies, for me, were in the wrong order. You couldn't see the correct descent and rise and so on.
I always thought it was odd. I might get this wrong, so you'll correct me. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. But each of those lines hasn't got 10 syllables in it. It's got 11.
It's an unquiet mind.
Yeah.
So it's people would say it's speaking at speed, not necessarily for me, but it's an unquiet mind. It doesn't quite settle. He's searching for something, and he's greatly upset, and so the rhythm is not easy and in form.
I mean, we could do Sweeney Todd forever. Like one of my favourite shows ever. Not least because I think it's got perhaps the best lyric in the history of lyrics, which is shepherd's pie peppered with actual shepherd on top.
Shepherd's pie peppered with actual shepherd on top. Yeah, it's great rhyming.
You've got the part. I can see that production coming. But now, you referred to yourself as Jamaican family, heritage, and Birmingham.
And Birmingham.
A particular combination. I wonder how much of that you take into anything that you do either on screen or in the theatre?
I haven't really dug into the Birmingham side of the roots, but a little bit now and then. The Jamaican side of things I've used much more of and dug into, but I haven't had call to do really either. I've always played characters that have been either based here now.
You have a very not Birmingham accent.
Or in history. Well, that's, I mean, one thing I left 38 years ago. Yeah. So there's that. But the other thing is that when I went home from school, which is where I heard the Birmingham accent most. When I went home from school, I did not hear the Birmingham accent in the house.
Right.
So you'd have kids coming to school hearing the Birmingham accent, using the Birmingham accent as I did, as I can still hear I've got it now. But then when they went home, they'd have their nan, talking and be talking, like, now take off your shoes now. They'd have all that going on at home as well as having it in school. Whereas when I went home, I heard patois and that accent when I went home.
Have you seen The Importance of Being Earnest at the National?
No, I really want to see it.
Because Sharon D. Clarke as Lady Bracknell is completely amazing. Bringing a kind of West Indian drawl to it.
There's a Lady Bracknell everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it gives a completely different meaning to that kind of auteur.
Yes.
And a telling offness.
Oh, and being scared of what her thoughts might be and the matriarchy and so on. You just shift the lens as the best art does. It takes what you think you know so well. You shift the lens and you think, oh my God, this is so universal. This works in another culture from another viewpoint. It still works.
Now, interestingly enough, I was told when I went that I've been calling him Shuti Gatwa, who plays Algie in the production. He had been rung up by his mother to say, that's not how you pronounce your name, darling. Yes. It's Nshuti.
Nshuti.
So for 30 years, he'd been pronouncing his own name incorrectly.
Well, I know how he feels. I had to change my name at school.
Yeah, so anyway, going back to theatre, what do you think of you probably don't think of yourself either way maybe, but do you think of yourself as theatre or TV?
No, or
director maybe?
I don't think of myself as either way. I think I'm sort of a practitioner who's still learning. I always look back on the things I've done and I can see room for improvement. And so I'm just trying to, as I go on, narrow the gap between what I hope to be able to do and what I feel I am doing. And I keep working to narrow that.
But it's always seemed to me that being an actor, because you're often dependent on somebody else putting the thing together, that you've got to have a phenomenal degree of personal resilience in life.
Yeah.
Sorry, am I intruding on private grief?
No. The grief of every job you go for that you really want to get that you don't get.
And then having to congratulate a friend for getting it.
Yeah. Well done, mate. It's something that never stops. I've had a lot of younger actors ask me, how do you get rid of nerves? And other actors will say lots of other things, but I will always say that a feeling of nervousness, a feeling of what happens if I get it wrong, is there because you care. Right. And it's there because you're sane. You're about to step out in front of these people and execute a long remembered run of lines and movements and things. And the thing to do is to accept your nervousness, accept that you care and relax into it and know that there is no such thing really as making a mistake because the part is yours. As far as that audience is concerned, there aren't any scripts. There isn't a script. Yeah. There isn't a character. There's just you. So whatever you choose to do to move around something you may have forgotten or something, whatever you choose to do is the performance and it is the character. It's you now. So just go and be as free on the stage.
There's a famous moment, I think, of Gielgud and Richardson, who were notoriously kind of waspish sometimes with each other in a play. It might be The Birthday Party or something like that. And I think Richardson gets the phone on the table next to Gielgud to ring at a key moment in the play. And, of course, the phone will keep on ringing until he answers. So he answers it, and Gielgud just immediately went, "It's for you." Pranks or not?
Yeah, I'll join in with pranks. Yeah, I'll join in with pranks if there are pranks to be had. I am very... I do think that any prank that the audience can see or believes is happening between the actors on stage, that is something that is, for me, is a no-no, because everyone's paid their money.
Oh, right. Whereas...
Things you can do to each other that the audience won't know is not part of the play.
Right.
Fantastic. Go for it. But stuff where the audience goes, what? Or people start giggling amongst themselves, or something stops the action or something. that to me is just unprofessional, kind of childish behavior. But when you do so, even if it's big, you do something big, and the entire rest of the cast knows that that's not the play, and the audience has no idea. Brilliant.
Now, obviously, when you do a play, you do it in the order of the play every night. You might rehearse different scenes in different orders and things like that, but on the night, obviously, the play runs as the play runs.
Yeah.
When we watch a film or a TV series, it won't necessarily be filmed in that order. How do you make sure that it sort of works? Do you get to know that order?
It's something that happens, and I think this is part of training or practice. It's something that happens in the back of your mind, because when we were doing Hustle, we would shoot 2 episodes at the same time, out of order. And you know how complicated that was.
Yeah.
So you'll be moving from...
I think that's how we're running the government. Oh, no, I'm not meant to say that.
Don't say that. Cut. Cut. We'll do 2 episodes at the same time, out of order. And you have to just know, that, so they say tomorrow we're doing scene 1, 3, 5, 6, and then 2, 14, and then, 2. So, and you're jumping from... This is a moment where we've achieved this. This is a moment where we're worried, and you just have to jump in with it. And in my head, I work out the timeline and the arc of what my character's doing, so I know what I'm going to be feeling at any point.
Right. If you had a kind of, I'm the Minister for Arts and Creative Industries and Tourism and all that kind of stuff. And
have you still got 6 jobs?
At least, well, a bit more in fact, because I've got telecoms as well. But that,
wow.
And I like it. I love having that variety because there's something. I mean, I guess it's in one sense, being a politician is a bit like being an actor in that you are sort of for hire. You know, whatever the next gig is, you're up for, and sometimes you've got to learn it from fresh. You don't know anything about it whatsoever. Suddenly you're a greengrocer, and suddenly you're in charge of telecoms or whatever. But I just sort of wonder what you would challenge a government in the creative industries sphere to do.
Access. That's it. It's plain and simple. Access. Young people have to have access to the arts in performance and an exploration in school. It has to be part of what builds their character, their self-confidence, their understanding of the complexity of language, their understanding to help them understand law, letters, all of that sort of stuff. They need to be able to dig in to playing empathically with states of being and points of view on paper in words to each other. They need to have that, because as they go out in life and as they want to take control or be in positions of power, I hope, in any field, at any level, rather than being just educated so they can work for someone else. I think that at the upper echelon of any industry, people who are interviewing for jobs, once you have the qualifications, that's a major thing, getting the qualifications. But once you have them, people are going to be looking for individuals who can think outside the box, who can work well within a team, who can lead from within a team but not look like they're leading, but be part of that team, who can, with absolute clarity, communicate their ideas, who can stand up in front of people and speak clearly, lucidly, who can introduce new ideas, invigorate a team to handle them, and then take them forward. All of those things are not just done with sport. That's physical. It's done by working as a group of theatre practitioners. It sounds weird, but if you work as a group of in a theatrical setting to do a production in front of people, you'll be working every single one of those muscles in your brain. Every single one.
I often think that the other bit is about confidence. It's because it's like, and some of it, I don't know how many youngsters I worked with when I was a youth worker, trying to enable them to get on a stage and read a poem or say what they thought or whatever, just to an audience. I mean, it's a bit like, because the nerves are terrible. Yeah, you kind of think it's intrinsically not a thing a human being should be able to do. A bit like jumping off, a board into a swimming pool. But actually, once you've done it, you find out it's enormously enjoyable, and you're actually quite good at it. Yes. And everybody has a different way of doing it, and it's a force multiplier in all the other aspects of your life.
Absolutely. Even asking people to stand up in class and say something or answer a question. The idea that once you put your head above the parapet, you're open to ridicule, means that being asked to answer a question is a form of punishment. So people want to hide within the
Yeah.
group. And that sheep mentality, if taken to an extreme when they get older as adults and they're voting, it does all sorts of wrong. Being able to correctly analyze the words that are in front of you and communicate them back to someone, it's incredibly important. Confidence is the main thing. So I would say, and this is the work that I'm always involved in charities, I would say all the time, access, because really, no matter how much we love these art forms, even the suit that you're wearing at the moment, it's an art. It's tailored. Someone's thought about it, form, shape, color, stuff, everything. Every one of these art forms, if we don't take care of them and make sure that a younger generation has easy and direct access to understanding it and enjoying it, the art form is going to die, or it's going to exist in another country, and we're going to borrow from it.
Yeah, well, it's that latter bit that worries me enormously, but also just it's about natural social justice, that I want every single kid to have the opportunities that you and I have enjoyed, because you got into a choir and then you got into the youth music theatre and then into the youth theatre in Birmingham, and I got into the National Youth Theatre, and that gave me a whole series of different skills. Some would argue not very well developed in my case, but yeah, no, I just think, and it's also an enormous part of what Britain is. And needs to be, and part of what I think our economic future is as well.
I mean that's the other side, the economics of what the creative industries bring into the country, pound for investment and return. It's ridiculous that you would not think, shall we do some more of this? Shall we export more of this? One of the things that's really interesting is that if you put all of the arts together in a big bag and you shook the bag and you poured it out on the floor, you would see that is what Britain thinks of itself.
Yes, no, completely.
That's actually our view of ourselves in the mirror. But it's also how other countries see us. And the strongest cultures around the world have been exported, not because they're powerful with this or medicine or weaponry or whatever. It's been exported because of investment in their artists. And in the 1900s and the early part of the 20th century, a lot of that stuff was coming from Paris, from France.
Yeah.
But it was because of the economics that was set up to help artists sustain themselves when they were doing a year of no work, no produced work, but just thinking creatively. The cafe culture, meeting with other artists, talking. That's what James Baldwin went and dipped into it as well. But that entire culture of thinking and writing, and that's the Parisian art scene right there.
I've never managed to finish James Baldwin's. Is it Giovanni's Room?
I've
read everything but the last 2 pages, and then I lost a copy. I must buy another copy at some point. Look, I mean, we've spoken for a long time. We've spoken for a lot. I've just got one more kind of policy question for you, which is theatre tickets. I've been shocked sometimes when I've tried to book tickets for theatre in London. £280 was the last one that I toyed with. I didn't buy it.
Try Broadway.
Yeah, no, well, indeed. And London is much better than Broadway, and I hope that we're not going to go in that direction. I just have a little bit of a fear that that we could end up with a situation where theatre is so expensive that it's priced out of most people's reach, and also then the people who go aren't really interested in the show in a curious way.
They're interested in who's in it.
What are you going to do about it?
What am I going to do about it? I'm going to ask for less when I'm on stage. But it's just tracking where the money goes. Where is the money going? Who's making the money out of that? Is it a balanced profit? Is it equal? Is it ethical? Where is it going? Because if the resilience of people who work backstage is needed because their wages are quite low and they're really working hand to mouth, and the work is hard and difficult, then where is the money going?
Yeah.
Are the producers making millions of pounds a week? No. Where is it going? So once we can work out that, we can make sure that we have to make sure we leave more money in the pockets of the consumers who are accessing this entertainment. There's a sort of idea that money will trickle down from CEOs down. It doesn't happen. Or that if you tax people properly and leave money in the pockets of individuals who have rising bills to pay, if you leave more money in their pockets and take it away from these big corporations, the big corporations will up sticks and go somewhere else. Yeah. They will go wherever profit is to be made. And if you leave more money in people's pockets, there's more profit to be made from those people. The corporations will come, or new corporations will come. It never works the other way around.
The other worry is, of course, there's lots of theatres are really struggling,
Yep.
especially outside London, and ones that are run by local authorities struggling because local authorities haven't got any money to spend because they've had quite a few years of very small budgets. But look, I suspect we could talk for many, many hours. So one of the things that's really irritated me for years is that it's great that, I know, Eton and Harrow and Winchester and so on, they all have an art class, they all have a pottery kiln, they all have, a great big theatre with lights and all the rest of it. But that's not available in every single school in the country. No. So that sense of, I don't know what percentage of kids now get a proper creative education. Is that one of the things that burns in you?
It is, actually. And you can doing school trips, taking the kids out of the school and saying, let's come over here because we're going to access teaching and workshops and so on. That's a wonderful thing. Birmingham Rep does that. So you'll have schools come in as part of their school curriculum, like going to the swimming baths. Not all schools have a swimming pool.
No.
But you will do games and you'll go swimming. And you'll be taken on a little coach to the swimming baths. You'll swim, you'll get out, you'll dry, and you'll come back and carry on school. It's part of the system, and it should be the same with the arts. Getting the right teachers means accessing practitioners who are already doing it and inviting them in, or going to their place of work and saying, this is a theatre, this is a rehearsal room, this is what it looks like. Getting the kids on stage, letting them see what it feels like. Watching young kids on stage suddenly look out at an audience and look at the lights and go, gosh, the confidence you need to even begin to say hello, good morning from there talking to someone in the stalls is immense, and can be sometimes in their lives the best sort of adrenaline shot of confidence they've had in a long time. So I do believe that schools and regional theatres need to be much more in contact.
I think it's one of the things we've got to do as a government.
Yeah, they have to have a roster of schools that they have to personally service, and they come in. The kids come in and use it like the resource that it is. And if you're running a production in the evening, that theatre should be used for training from 9 a.m. in the morning until 5 p.m. when the actors come in and warm up. No space should be dead in any subsidised building. No space. It should all be used for the good of those who need the access without payment.
I remember watching a young girl, go on stage for the first time, and there was a spotlight, and she instinctively stood where the light was on the stage, which of course didn't mean that she'd found her light at all. And then the moment she was taught to find her light, then suddenly she was a transformed person, and the confidence grew in that single moment. So I completely agree.
But taking go on. But taking that point, using that particular phrase, if you read a book on mindfulness, if you read a book on the power of now, if you read a book on any of those things that say that touch on mental health, basically what they're saying is take a moment, find your light, and then let everyone see it. Yeah. However you do it, that's basically what all of those things are saying. And I do believe, and these are Adjua and those words, I wish they were mine, but I really do believe that if we knuckled down and took care of arts, creativity, access in this country for everyone, wherever you are, you would in many ways be creating a second health service.
Yeah,
in
completely.
Many ways, you would be just helping people understand that. Mind, emotions, and physically as well. I don't think that's going too far. I do think understanding what's happening to young people now, I think there's a lot of weight to that. When we first met and we had a chat at the conference.
At Labour Party conference.
Yeah. You expertly fired off some Shakespeare at me straight away. I sat down and you went bang, and out came these,
And what's he then that says I play the villain?
Yes, that's it.
Yes,
my part is.
Iago.
So, National Youth Theatre.
Yeah.
And you performed and you got a taste for it.
Yeah.
If there was a part you could play now, what part would it be? Or what do you, as you turned away from that world, what part do you always wish you could have played?
Oh, Richard II, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, I should have been cast as Richard II in the Youth Theatre, really. Mm-hmm. I love the sort of... There's a speech he gives towards the end, just before he's murdered, when he says, I have been studying how I may compare this prison where I live unto the world. And for because the world is populous and here is not a person but myself, I cannot do it. That is iambic pentameters, but it's so conversational. And for that matter, this other great speech, for God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings. Again, completely conversational, like normal chat. And yet it is probably the most poetic of Shakespeare's plays, because it is all in strict iambic pentameters.
Yeah. And that there's something about that part that, is it just the language or is it the role itself?
It's partly, I suppose, because I played O'Merle. O'Merle, thou weepst, my tender-hearted cousin, which required me to weep every night.
Yes, of course.
And I had an operation on one of my eyes when I was a kid, so I can only really weep out of one eye, which was my upstage eye. So every night I had to go like,
turn away,
so that everybody could see.
I'm not crying.
To show that I was crying, because I managed it every night. I could manage to get tears out my eye every night.
It is an extraordinary play, and the moment in that's a stroke of genius there. The moment in the dungeon when he says, I'll test it out, or I'll meter it out, and he starts to talk about thoughts, people in the room, and how they interact with themselves, and pure imagination.
Completely.
Sat on his own, still thinking. I've always thought that was a brilliant piece of writing.
Though there's about to be a Richard II at the Bridge with Jonathan Bailey. And funnily enough, a lot of the play happens in Westminster Hall, or the events, theoretically anyway, because I'm not sure that they actually happen, but happen in Westminster Hall, which is obviously where I work in Parliament. Right. So we're having the whole cast along.
Brilliant.
And I said to Nick Heitner that obviously I know John of Gaunt's speech, if that's of any use.
If you need it.
He hadn't cast John of Gaunt at the time, but I think that would be a conflict of interest.
It might be, just ever so slightly.
My biggest role was I played Mac in Threepenny Opera.
Right.
Which is great, but really musically really, really tough.
It is very difficult. But what is your favourite song, musical theatre?
Oh, song? There's a Place for Us from West Side Story.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Which I remember you and I listened to at a wedding last year.
Yes.
A wedding which included the bridal march from The Sound of Music and all of us singing Climb Every Mountain. It was one of the most... And I think Cliff Richard singing.
I forgot about that.
But also...
Yes.
So when I was a young gay man, that was the song that symbolised There's a Place for Us. Was the song that kind of symbolised there's another world, and all the gay pride marches. It was just a really important part of our life.
Yeah.
If we're doing quick fire now, then so my question to you is, what's the best performance you've ever seen in the theatre?
Oh wow, I'm going to lose friends now. Here we go. I remember being at drama school, and we would get tickets to the previews of shows. And I went along to see Patrick Stewart and Billy Whitelaw do Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Sat on the front row. It was in the round at the Young Vic. And it was amazing to be that close to these two actors at the top of their game, going at each other. And the mind games and I'd seen the film ages ago and I'd heard about it. I think I've read half the play again. There's great speeches in there. But then when I sat there and watched them two play it, I suddenly understood what was going on. I really...
Can you remember the first time you went to the theatre?
First time I ever went to the theatre was I sat on my mom's lap and I was watching Ippy Tomby at the Birmingham Rep. And I remember watching that and thinking, what is going on? But what I got from that was how I kept thinking they must be tired. It kept going, the kicks and I kept thinking, and then there would be a dance about a subject and then be a dance about, and I think I know you're all going off to hunt now, but like 5 minutes later they're still dancing about the fact they're going off to hunt. I'm like, but you're too tired to hunt. My kid's brain was thinking that. That was the first thing I ever saw in the theatre.
The first play I went to on my own, as opposed to things I've been taken to Godspell and things like that by my parents. But the first thing I remember buying my own ticket for was Michael Gambon in Galileo by Bertolt Brecht at the National Theatre.
That's light.
Isn't it just? And the next night, I went to see Warren Mitchell in Death of a Salesman.
Oh, wow.
That's two nights in a row, and that's full-on heavy theatre.
Yeah. Do you find when you've been to the theatre, you've seen something wonderful, do you find the world expanded when you come out? Or do you think, oh, that was nice, I enjoyed watching them act? Or do you think differently about things once you've come out?
So it depends. I remember going to see Derek Jacobi in Cyrano de Bergerac, and it's one of my favourite plays because I think that final moment, I defy anybody to watch it without crying. It's so beautiful, and I remember not wanting to talk to anybody for hours after I'd left, because I just wanted to retain all of that beauty and humour, obviously, and all the rest of it.
Yes, that's something I'm talking about at the moment. But yes, it is a beautiful.
My final question for you then, which is tragedy or comedy?
I think I'm known for doing tragedy, and I have sat with people and chatted to people, and they've gone, "Oh my God, you're actually quite funny." I remember someone saying that to me. They looked at me and they said, "Do you know?" I said, "What?" They said, "You're actually funny," and I sort of, thanks.
Well, Hustle's funny, isn't it?
Hustle's funny, but I don't think people. It's like I was a straight man in Hustle.
Right.
The whole thing was funny.
Yeah.
But me being funny is something I've never done, and I think I would like to do that.
If there are any directors out there, A, he wants to do his Lear. B, he's up for Cyrano de Bergerac. Sweeney Todd is still available as well, and a little bit of comedy.
Yeah, thank you.
Adrian, thank you very much.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome. It's been fun.